Okay. I might upon you, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Sabbath. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Asherah, Natalanawa, Hashabath, Bashalawam, Thawada, Aman. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shah, that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it. Baha'ayim Ma'ad Asherayim Akkad, Psalms 121. Anya Harayim Mayanyam Ya Oh Haharyam Mayan Yabawa Isaiah Yabawa Mayahawa Shai Shemayim Warataza La'a Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yala'a Yanawam Shashamarka Hana La'a Yanawam Wala'a Yayashun Shashwama Yasharallah Yahweh Shemaya Yahweh Tazalia I Ya Yam Ya Yawamam Hashamash La'a Hakaya Wayarat La'a Baliyala Yahweh Yashamaya Mako Ra Yashamar Napasha Yahweh Yashamar Hawalakya Wabawa Ma'itha I Walam Bahasham Yahawasha Thawada Aman.
Psalm 121. I'll lift up my eyes unto the hill, from whence comes my help. My help comes from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. They will not suffer after to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon the right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. The Lord shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yasher Allah, hear, O Israel. Shema Yasher Allah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasher Allah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Echad. Shema Yasher Allah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Echad.
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Tapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abi Yanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwithka, Taba'ah, Ratazawanka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Nathalanawa, Lakham, Yawum, Za, Wasalakwanawa, Kabawathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kabawathanawa, Wala'a, Habiyanawa, O, Nasayawan, Abo, Hawashinawa, Marai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watha Pa'arath, Vaiwalam, Aman.
Matthew 6:9. After these manner therefore pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thy is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Aishra Matazwa, the Ten Commandments. La'ah, Yahaya, Laka, Alahayim, Akarim, Alpanya, La'ah, Daisha, Laka, Paso, Wala'ah, Daibadam, La'ah, Dalakwaka, Shamwa, Yahweh, Alahayaka, Lashua, Zakar, Ath, Hayawam, Hashabath, Lakodashwa, Kabad, Abiaka, Wa Amaka, La'ah, Tharatazak, La'ah, Thana'ah, La'ah, Thaganah, La'ah, Thainah, Shakur, La'ah, Thakamad, Ko, Asherah, Lara'ayaka, Aman.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. I am the Lord that brought thee out of the land of I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image of any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and show mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that take his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days that thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor. Amen.
Aman. Shabbat, be seated. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Par Yahagapin, Thwada Amun, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ath, Yasha Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. I mod up on you in Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem for opening prayers. Barakatha Yahweh, Hagadol, Rakhawam, Abiyah, Wanara'ah, Aliyawan, Malak, Shal, Shamayim, Wa'aratazah, Wakol, Dabarim, Chayayim, Wagum, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Adawannawa, Ahabnawa, Hapalav, Yawaitazah, Yahweh Shai, Zakarnawa, Yahweh, Barataza 1, Anka, Yasha'Allah, Izarnawa, Bana, Wasap, Yasha'Allah, O, Nanawa, Yum Yun, Itha, Kayumim, Makwadam, Baba Kusha, Shalak, Mayaka'Allah, Wahataza Wadak, Allahayim, La, Magannawa, Rapanawa, Washamar, Alnawa, Baikur, Shalak, Harocha, Shal, Yahweh Shai, Lanawa, Lalamadnawa, Rabim, Kakama, Tabawana, Wada'ith, Shal, Dabaraka, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Thowada, Thumyad, Waiwalam, Aman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth, and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel. Most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you always and forever. So be it. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives us the law. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Hathawara. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us light to see. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Awar, Lara Awath. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Korun, Ha'ayal, La Korah, Ha'ain. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathalanawa, Hashaman, Zayath, Lamashak, Yasha'Allah. Yeshabah, be seated. Right. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, peace and blessings to the brothers and sisters that's here in the school, that's watching on the live stream, those who are also listening on the teleconference. Ashar Shabbat and happy Sabbath. This is the 5th month and the 14th day of the month on the Most High Sabbath day. And I know Elders Aquan and Kahan Nabiyah, they usually like to keep us abreast with the day and time that we're in because it aids us in being able to be prepared for our upcoming feast days. I'll touch on that in a minute. So again, this is the 5th month and the 14th day. Approximately almost 2 weeks ago, August 3rd, Saturday night, we kept the opening of the new moon. That was the first day. And then you continually, you add unto that. So again, shalom, peace and blessings. The Most High's will, everybody's in good spirits. Everybody is cast their burdens aside to come before the Most High, Yahweh Shah, and to enjoy his rest, the day of rest, and to learn more about our history, learn more about our customs, our laws, our statutes, learn more about how we are supposed to try to sustain ourselves with the fruits of the Spirit in these last days in order to maintain and endure, as well as learning of the prophecies of the things to come that we watch and wait for, the salvation that Yahweh Shah and the angels are going to deliver to the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, the Most High's chosen people in the planet Earth. All right. So again, this is Hayash Kanas, which is the congregation of Israel, right? Where we're uniting and congregating, coming together under Yahweh Shah to keep the Most High's will. And we do that by going into the scriptures, right? Going into the King James Holy Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament, as well as the hidden books known as the Apocrypha, right? The King James version of the Apocrypha, the 14 books within the Apocrypha. I was talking with a sister early this week, and she has the 100 books of the Apocrypha, which includes books I've never heard before. It includes the book of Enoch and other different things that's not mentioned in the scriptures. And I know a lot of people are enamored with the book of Enoch, but it tells you in the book of Jude that he prophesied about certain things, but it didn't tell you a reference of a book of Enoch. But there's, warnings and guidance that we have been given by one of our ancestors, King Solomon. When you read Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter and the 12th verse, it says, "Be admonished, my son, of making many books. There is no end. And much study is a weariness of the flesh." And I find that it is those individuals who are less learned in the scriptures, right? Understanding the fullness of what we have currently in the King James, in the 66 books and the 14 books. Those who are less learned are more inclined to go and do more studying than what's already here. I would understand if you got yourself rooted, right? You've been doing this for a while. You're learned. You understand what the will of the Most High is. You've been working and putting in your labors to keep the law, statutes, and the commandments to the best of your abilities here in the last days of our captivities. And then you say, okay, I got that. I understand it. I've gone through Isaiah. I've gone through Ezra, John the Revelator, his visions that was in Revelations. I've gone through it. I understand. And the word can't be broken. And then you say, I want to go and check out what these other books say, if they fall in line with what we have here in the 80 books. And you find out that, there is mention of the book of Jubilees, but we understand that Esau can go and do certain things and make a plagiarism and then change certain things to give a different spirit or to alter your mind or to cast doubt, to have you leave the first love, which is the law, right? The law and the testimony. So again, make sure we are deeply rooted in what we have first. You have been practicing keeping the commandments to the best of your ability, day in and day out. It's on your mind. Like it tells you in Joshua, the 1st chapter and the 8th verse, to meditate therein day and night upon these scriptures, upon this law. So what that does is it inclines your mind as you go out in the world and you encounter, you come into different circumstances, whether it's at your job, at the supermarket, at your family's house. These things come to mind because you have been inundated to keep yourself abreast with what the testimony and the law has dictated. So that's what we hold fast to in these last days, to keep ourselves solid, right? So, and doing that, we had a beautiful class. For those of us who have not been in the classes Tuesdays and Fridays, I urge you to join in, bring some people, come with your questions, and we have good topics and good conversations. Last night, we was talking about the preparation for the Feast of Tabernacles, right? And made me to remind myself always to keep abreast with the days, months, and times that we in. I'm going to read a few scriptures. I'm going to read a couple scriptures before we get into the story with the sister Judith in the Apocrypha. This is Ecclesiasticus, chapter 43. Just going to be one verse. Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, page 96, if you have a red Apocrypha, 6th verse. Ecclesiasticus chapter 43, verse 6. Which reads, he made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. So in the salutations, when I said the month and day that we in, is because the Most High created the moon for that purpose, so that we would be able to declare what things is about to happen as it pertains to our calendar year and the feast days, right? A good portion of those you read about in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, right? It gets into the feast of the Most High. And how do we determine that? And it's based off the new moon, right? So as we were talking about the tabernacles, felt kind of good because I know I was in the store about a week ago, and I already saw Halloween stuff up in the store, right? I was like, man, we still in early August, and they already have, Halloween stuff set up for the end of October. So us talking about and preparing, getting ourselves ready of what things we need to prepare and take with us when we go to North Carolina for the camping trip to keep the Feast of the Tabernacles out in the woods, bring our tents, right? And everything that we need to do. So we started talking about that, and it started to get spiritual about certain things that we got to prepare our minds for. But it starts with being able to understand and acknowledge where we are, because the moon declares the time, right? So we as a nation should now get in tune with our own feast days, holy days, right? We know the Passover is the first month, right? The first new moon in the springtime starts the beginning of the year. 14 days from thence at even is the Passover. Read about that in Exodus, about our deliverance from out of captivity under the Egyptians. The Most High raised up Moses and his brother Aaron to deliver us out of Egypt, to bring us into the wilderness, right? And the Most High had to prove us in the wilderness to bring us to our promised land. You read also in 1 Corinthians, the 5th chapter, it tells you that Christ, Yahushua, he is our Passover, because he was the sacrificial lamb, like what we kept in Egypt, to allow the death angel to see the blood on the doorpost to pass over us. By him shedding his blood, right, for the remission of sins, it allows now death to pass over us in these last days as much as we keep the Most High's will. Following the Passover, it's the solemn assembly for the brother Simon, Maccabees, right? Coming out of that land of Mattathias, when you read it in the book of the Maccabees. There's actually 3 convocations in the Maccabees, right? Simon, who was the younger brother of Judas Maccabees, he was honored with a memorial in the 2nd month on the 23rd day, right? where Tryphon, one of the Greek captains of their host, came to try to destroy Israel after he had murdered Judas and Simon's brother Jonathan. And now he took the reins to go and deliver and defend Israel from the Greeks. The captain of their host was Tryphon. And you'll read about that, I believe it's 1 Maccabees, the 12th chapter. But it tells you in the second month, on the 23rd day of our calendar year, we keep that a feast. Now, keep in mind, I'm going through the feast days in order because this is our custom. In the world, we knew Esau's, right? We knew what season it was coming in, and you prepared and you thought about certain things ahead of time. You should do the same thing, even on a higher level, with our glorious feast days. Following the day of Simon in the second month and the 23rd day, we keep the Feast of First Fruits. We just kept it not too long ago, a summer season feast day, right? It's not pertaining to a particular month and day because it's based on the harvest, right? When the wheat harvest comes in and you go and you offer up a portion of your offering to the Most High, right? As the first of your crop, to have the Most High honor and bless your harvest season, right? So that's now something that those who are farmers will be able to mark and see when that harvest came in, when the grains came in for the wheat, and offer that, and then count 7 Sabbaths, and then the morrow after the Sabbath, we keep a feast day, right? Then following that, the next thing that's coming up is going to be the 7th month feast day. There's 3 feast days in that month. The first one is the memorial blowing of the trumpets, right? That's the first day of the 7th month. So it's like a double feast day because we already keep the new moon, but then we're also going to keep the memorial or the remembrance of the purposes for the trumpets or the shofar, right? When we blow the ram's horn, you read about that in Numbers, the 10th chapter. Goes into the different ordinances of why the priest and some of our brothers back then would blow up the ram's horn, right? To call in the assembly, going to war over feast days and so forth and so on, right? And then it has a prophetic meaning, even when we now are going to be delivered. It tells you in the book of 1 Thessalonians, I believe it's the 4th chapter, that Michael is going to blow a trumpet in that day to deliver and call to arms the 1/3 and the 144 to redeem us from the said destruction that's coming to Babylon and the rest of the earth, right? So again, a lot of these feast days have an actual literal occurrence, and then it has a spiritual meaning. Going back to the first fruits, forgot. We had the actual keeping of the first fruits, but then when you read in the New Testament, in the book of Revelation, the 14th chapter, it tells you that 144 will be the first fruits to the Most High presented by Yahushua, right? Who was not defiled by women, right? Meaning the 144 are not going to be deceived to go back and follow the ways of the world, to be a carnal vessel like we was when we came out of the world, right? So we are now working to sustain ourselves and endure to be that first fruit. So now you go into the memorial blowing of the trumpets. It carries a spiritual weight to it as well. 10 days after the memorial blowing of the trumpets in the 7th month is going to be the Day of Atonement, where we reconcile our sins before the Most High. All the things that we've done for the past year. It doesn't mean that you can't repent and try to reconcile on the spot when certain things happen throughout the week. But the Most High has gloriously made us a solemn day where you set aside everything, not just work for hire, but even things that you need to do in your household. You set that aside, right? You don't have to prepare no food because it is a 24-hour approximate fast where you do not eat anything, you don't drink anything. You are depriving your physical body of its desires to now grow closer to the Most High and let him know that we are humbling ourselves. We don't need anything else but the Most High. And you learn over time when you fast often to draw yourself closer to the Most High. So the Most High has it where on that 10th day of the 7th month, we all come before him wherever we are, if you're in your homes, if you're here at the school, you try to separate yourself from work, separate yourself from household duties to just doing or keeping that feast day holy, right? As it mentions in Leviticus 23rd chapter. 5 days from that, we're going to keep the Feast of the Tabernacles. That's what we're discussing in the class this evening, right? Where we're going to dwell in booths, right? Just like we did when we came out of Egypt and we wandered around in the wilderness where we didn't have a permanent home, right? We were like nomads, pilgrims, just roaming around. The Most High was proving us for those few years that we was in the wilderness until he had a generation to go into the land of Canaan, which will become Israel. It's the same thing now, right? We have to keep the Feast of Booths or Tabernacles or tents. And then also spiritually, we're going to come out of this booth and be clothed with a different tabernacle that Yahweh Shai and the angels going to give us in that day that he returns. At the same time, during the Feast of Tabernacles is the Feast of Ingatherings, which is the end of the harvest season, right? So that's a double feast day. One portion of it is for the dwelling in booths. Another portion of it is for the end of the harvest, where we now keep a memorial for having a glorious harvest throughout the spring and summer seasons going into the fall, right? And then after that, we prepare for next year's harvest season. So that goes into those 3 holy days that come in the 7th month. Following that, you're going to go to the 9th month. The 9th month is the feast of the rededication of the altar, where we keep that on the 25th day, right? I probably misspoke on the tabernacles. Is an 8-day feast day. The Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, is a 7-day feast day. When we keep the Feast of Dedication, it's also an 8-day feast day. You read about that in the book of Maccabees, First Maccabees, the 4th chapter. But one of our patriarchs, one of our elders, Judith Maccabees, who defended Israel during the times of the Greeks against the captain of the host at that time, Georgius, right? And it was told that in that, at the conclusion, when we were able to recapture or reclaim the temple and cleanse it, we kept a memorial of that on the 9th month and the 25th day. And we kept that for 8 days, like we kept during the times of the Feast of Tabernacles, because we had just come out of the Feast of Tabernacles and they wanted to keep it during that time as well. So we rededicated the altar in the temple back to the Most High. Same thing. We now have to dedicate ourselves or rededicate ourselves as a sacrifice to the Most High by doing our works, by studying, by coming to the classes, by trying to teach others, by walking in the Spirit. We're dedicated and sacrificing our time during this time to be accepted before the Lord. That's in the 9th month on the 25th day for 8 days. And if you're smart and you understand the days, you know that in that week of keeping the feast of the rededication of the altar, the new moon is going to come within those days, right? Because it's in the 25th day, you got to keep it for 8 days. So before you have the conclusion or the closing of that day, you're going to have a new moon towards the ending of it. Following the 9th month, you're going to go into the 12th month, right? The 12th month and the 13th day is going to be the day of Judas, where Judas went and defended again. The Maccabees had to defend the nation against the captains of the host of the Greeks. This time it was Nicanor, right? We mentioned with Simon, it was Tryphon. This time it was Nicanor, where he wanted to come and destroy Jerusalem and destroy the temple. Most High put the spirit in Judas Maccabees to go and defend and to take him out, cut off his head, cut off his shoulder, everything, and had it posted up on a tower so that everybody could see, right? And we now kept that as a memorial of those who stood up to defend the Most High's name and honor, to defend the nation of Israel, to defend the temple where the Most High joined the tribe of Levi to keep those ordinances.
The day after that is the day of, or the days of Purim, or the days of Lot, right? To cast lots, right? So the 12th month, the 14th and 15th days. You read about that, the storyline in the book of Esther in the Bible, as well as in the Apocrypha. So the 14th and 15th day, the Most High had it where we kept the days of Purim, or the days of Mordecai, where we honored the brother and sister for them stepping up and defending the nation through the spirit and power of the Most High during the times of the Persians, when a Macedonian, an Edomite, tried to conspire and have the realm of that time throughout Shushan and all other provinces turn against the children of Israel unjustly. And the spirit had it where you had two of our pillars stand up and defend. So we keep that day, those days, I should say, the 14th and the 15th day, in honor of them for the nation. And that goes through our calendar. We should be able to understand that same way. You read about that in 2nd Maccabees, the 14th chapter, or I think it's the whatever the last chapter. I think it's the 15th chapter in 2nd Maccabees about the days of Esther for the days of Purim, and then 2nd Maccabees, the last chapter for Judas Maccabees, the day of Judas, right? So again, I just gave a rundown. I know Kahan Nabiyah usually sends out a High Holy Day PDF or flyer that has them all listed with the Julian calendar dates, but we have to go off of our calendar dates based on the new moon. All right. So again, like we said, we're getting prepared for these feast days that's coming up in the 7th month. I'm gonna read this in Proverbs chapter 16. Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 1. So while you're home and you're doing your studying, right, there's a few things that we should be able to study on, right? Who we are, the Most High's will, and the commandments, the laws. In that, it's the feast days. In that is even the 12 tribes, knowing who your brothers are and your sisters within those tribes, knowing who's a part of Zebulun, different from Asher, knowing who's a part of Ephraim, different from Simeon, the geography, the history, right? That's the things that we can also try to add to our own personal studies. Sometimes it always doesn't have to be just on the feast days that you learn this, but you could do your own personal studies to understand this and have this be a part of your daily rhythms and understanding. So this is Proverbs chapter 16 and 1. The preparations of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh. So the Most High gives us guidance on how we prepare our minds, because when it talks about the heart, it's talking about your mind, your spirit, what you reason with. And then how to answer comes from the Most High. Discernment, right? Being able to know when to speak, not to speak, how to speak, what things to say, what things not to say, right? Knowing how to yield to an elder, knowing how to bait your time and wait and ask permission. All of these things is found in the scriptures on how the Most High wants us to operate, how the Most High builds us up as men, as women, as husbands, as wives, as sons, as daughters in this truth, as servants to the power of Hashem Yahweh Shah. So again, we prepare ourselves, right, to be able to give answers either when we're questioned or just to have ourselves ready for if those things come to pass. And it's also good just for your own confidence in knowing the scriptures. Like it tells you in 2 Timothy 2:15, study to show thyself approved, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, right? You only ashamed when you're ignorant and you're supposed to know. Ignorant meaning you don't understand or you lack the knowledge or the information to do that job or to fulfill what is necessary for you to do. When someone comes and asks you and you say, oh, I don't know, then you feel ashamed because they're looking at you as to say, I thought you knew. You should know. You're in this position. You're coming to me. You're telling me such and such. So that's why they're doing these repetitions throughout the week on your own, as well as bringing certain questions to the classes on Tuesday night, Friday night, 7 to 10. It empowers you, builds up confidence, allows your face to be stern, like it talks about in Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter, right? It's an adamant flint, meaning when someone comes, whether the Egyptologist, whether there's some scholar that went to Harvard, someone on the news, right? Family member that comes and asks you a question to be a scoffer, you can stand tall, 10 toes solid, because you studied. You understand who you are, where you come from, who's your power, who's your Messiah, your Savior, and what's to come, and what things you need to do in order to get there before those things transpire. And then you could add all the other stuff, knowing who the other nations are and their destiny and what they contributed in the storyline. 9.5 times out of 10, you're going to read a lot about how they came against Israel, how they put us in captivity, how they stole our identities, how they wanted to make slaves and servants of us at different various times throughout history. Today, we don't search for the history from our forefathers like it talks about in Job 8 and 8 to find out what happened back then. We just go with the status quo because time goes on. I got to make that money, right? This thing is coming on. I got to see if you know, I'm deeply enamored to see if Jordan is going to get her bronze back, and this, that, and the third. There's a lot of, you know, things to distract us. A lot of things. It's not to say that you don't pay attention to what's going on in the world. You're supposed to. You have to. But don't let it supersede. Don't let it override. Don't let it now take the place of the will of the Most High, which we're called to do. Okay? So, again, this is our first love, like it talks about in Revelation, the 2nd chapter. We don't want to be the ones that Yahushua put the spirit out when John the Revelator was given the vision about the 7 churches, and one of the churches forgot the first love. We'll go into that in a month or two. I know Elder, I think, is going to be going into that soon. But we don't want to lose track of what your first love is, because you are, you know, caught up in a lot of other things. All right. So that was just my brief salutation before we get into Book of Judith. I know it's not too long today, but I just wanted to touch on a certain aspect. I know Elder goes into the tribes, going into the feast days, and maybe we'll do another piece that we should also all be cognizant of, right? Even those who are newly watching, Shalom, peace. This is your first time. Make sure you stay tuned. Get a pen, get a pad, get a Bible, an Apocrypha, right? As Elder used to say, like and share this video. You could always go back, bookmark it. There's a lot of other classes and Sabbath service classes that's in the archives. You can go back and go throughout all the different chapters. Going back, I think there's still some years of different classes that we've done in the Sabbath service, so that you can go back if you're looking to, you know, catch up or revisit certain things. That's why we have it on YouTube for an archive. All right, so if I'm remiss, I didn't make mention. My name is Kahan Samak, or Priest Samak, for support. Again, this is Hayashwala Kanas. I want to say Shalom and Ashar Shabbat to Akwath Andrea Watson, Ak Listen With Your Mind, Akwath a Warrior, Ak Ratazayan, Elder Zaquam Malak, Ak Young P, and again, there's a warrior. Let's see if I'm missing anybody. And then anyone else who is also watching and listening on the teleconference, again, we say Shalom, happy Sabbath, and stay tuned. Let's jump into Judith, the 11th chapter. Judith, the 11th chapter in the Apocrypha. It's on page 50 if you have a red Apocrypha, such as myself, or if you're in the King James 1611. Just jump to the 11th chapter. Now, remembering what we went through the last time, Judith had a council with the elders, a private council with the elders, and she discussed their mishaps of trying to bind the Most High or tempt the Most High by binding him to a timeline. She told him that was wrong. They entered into an oath, and once you enter into an oath, it has to be done. So she went and admonished them in the spirit, right, humbly in the spirit, that they had done something erroneous, but that she was going to take it upon herself with the help and aid of the Most High and Yahushua and the angels to go and deliver Israel within that time that was allotted from the Assyrians at that time, which with this time was Nebuchadnezzar, and he sent this captain of his host, which is Holofernes. So she, remembering what things transpired aforetime with her forefather Simeon, and one of her foremothers, which was Dinah, right, one of the matriarchs within the nation of Israel, as far as for a sibling, and how Dinah was raped, right, or defiled by a heathen at that time, right, a Hamite. And the brother Simeon, along with others, conspired that they were going to seek vengeance upon them for defiling their sister. And they conspired by using deceit with words of being in league and in alliance with them at that time to make marriages with their daughters and sons with those of our kindred at that time. And they said the only way that we could do that is to circumcise all the men, right? When you're circumcised as a baby, it's not that bad, but there's certain brothers that I know within our school, when you do it as an adult, you got to take some time off because it's going to be painful and you're not going to be able to move around the same normal way. So they said all the men had to be circumcised at that time. And what they did deceitfully is to think that they was going to be in league. They went and slaughtered all the men for what they had done to their sister Dinah. Jacob wasn't too happy with it, but the brother said this was the least that they could do for what happened to their sister. Sister Judith looking to now bring back that type of revenge that was done to the Hamites, to see if that same thing could be used with deceit against our enemies at her time. So she would be the vessel that the Most High would use to go and trick the Assyrians into believing that she came of good accord, that she came to make an alliance on allegiance with them and to be a traitor to her people and spill the beans on what weaknesses and things we had. So she had now, reading the 9th and 10th chapters when we went back, she had already now made her way to the camp of the enemies, and her being a Simeonite, the Most High blessed her with beauty and wisdom. So as she's going through the camp, we know the Simeonites to be so-called Dominicans today, down in the Caribbean islands, as well as those who are mainly spread throughout the Americas, down in the South, as well as up here in the Northeast. She was one with her handmaid that went in, and like it talks about in the book of First Esdras, how women can be possibly one of the most powerful tools or vessels in the earth because of their allure to men, right? Men look at women and they give up their whole might and power, half the kingdom, as they say, to now gain that woman, to gain that woman's heart. And as she's going through the camp, you can see a lot of men was giving in. And then even Holofernes himself, as he's seeing her come into his tent, saw her beauty. And what does that do? It begins to, you get to let your guard down, right? Sometimes the Most High even works on the spirits or the hearts of men. You remember, you read in the book of Esther during the times of Purim, when she was the queen and she had to go into King Ahasuerus's palace. The Most High changed the spirit of King Ahasuerus to be humbled to Esther, or Hebrew name Hadassah, right? The Lord can then do that at times. So he can work a work on the opposite end while he's working with you as a vessel to be a savior or deliverer. All right. So that's a little bit quick of the backstory. We're going to jump in now. Judith, the 11th chapter and the first verse. So it says, then said Holofernes unto her, woman, be of good comfort. Fear not in thine heart, for I never heard any that was willing to serve Nebuchadnezzar, the king of all the earth. Right? So he's letting them know you don't have to worry about anything. Anyone who wants to wave the white flag or come and be a servant to my king, we don't hurt them. Right? You always, sometimes they'll say you give the enemy, or you give those who you're opposing parties the opportunity to bend the knee or to kiss the ring, as they say. If they deny it, they oppose, then that's, license for war in the opposing nation's hand. So again, it says, then said Holofernes unto her, woman, be of good comfort, and fear not in thine heart. Don't be afraid, because I'm not going to hurt you, because I never did that to anybody who came to worship and bow down to my king. Verse 2. Now therefore, if thy people that dwelleth in the mountains had not set light by me, I would not lift it up my spear against them. But they have done these things to themselves. So he says the reason that we're here at this point is because we gave your people the opportunity to bow down, and they made light of it. They said no, right? And now they started, when you go back into the chapters, you'll see that Israel began to put some of our soldiers in battle array to protect themselves, to defend themselves. So when you see that, you're saying, okay, they don't want to do this through diplomacy. They want to do this through war. That's how they're looking at it. But it says here, which is interesting, it says, now therefore, if thy people that dwelleth in the mountains, right? Because at this time, they're around a little bit north or around where Jerusalem is. Because when you know the geography of that area, it is mountainous, right? Remember, even Yahushua, before he was to be crucified, he went into the Mount of Olives, right, to go and pray. There's a lot of different mountains and things around there. Go to the book of Psalms, chapter 125. Psalms chapter 125. And verse 1. On the shop, you can read that, Baba Kushah.
Psalms chapter 125 and verse 1. They that trust in the Lord shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed, but abide forever.
Right. So if you trust in the Most High, you'll be that new government that the Most High is going to stand up. You'll be the top of all mounts or governments in the earth. Right? Keep reading.
Verse 2. As the mountains are round about Jerusalem, so the Lord is round about his people from henceforth, even forever.
Right. So it says, as the mountains are round about Jerusalem. Right. So you have a lot of mountains. The Bible confirms it when you look at what's going on near Jerusalem. So if you look at the map, you'll see that here, I think we touched on this before, Judith and that kindred are Simeonites, right? But their inheritance is within Judah's lot, right? They're sitting within Judah's lot. North of this is where you see Jerusalem. But around all of this is a mountainous region, right? Let me see if I can flip to a different screen here. Give me 1 second to show you the geography. Bear with me 1 second. All right, so when you look at this here, leveraging Kahan's using one of his Bible atlases. When you look here, in the middle, you'll see the Dead Sea. To the left, you see the Mediterranean Sea. All the way to on the eastern coast of that, you see Gaza, which a lot of the war is going on right now over there in Israel, right? You'll read about some of these things in the scriptures as we're going through certain storylines. It mentions Gaza, then it mentions Ashdod and Ashkelon. But if you focus to where the Dead Sea is and you look at the elevation, those is mountainous regions all throughout that area where Judah is. And then in the middle of it, that's where Simeon dwells. So when they're talking about those that dwell in the mountains, it's because that's the geography. We was talking about, going camping in the class this evening, last night, and I was touching on how, some of us are city dwellers, right? We never really been out there in those areas like that. And some people, have, like you in the Caribbean, you got farmland, is this, that, and the third, and you may have that experience. But then living in mountainous regions, like really dwelling up in those areas, that's a different experience, right? And depending on the terrain, if it's, a lot of just rocks, like you're going up in the mountains, and then some of them are actually green. Where I was just down in Central America, and you have a lot of plush because of the rainforest. It's a lot of trees and certain things there. Whereas in other areas, it's not like that. So when you go online on YouTube and Google and look at some of the geography of our homeland, it now fulfills what you read in the scriptures, or it depicts that mountainous region. Same thing when you go to the book of Acts. Go to the book of Acts, chapter 2. So Acts chapter 1. I said 2. I'm going to Acts chapter 1, and I'm going to read from verse 11. Acts chapter 1 and verse 11. It says, which also said, ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? This same Yahushua, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. Right? So this is the disciples, the women, and those who are with Yahushua for a period of time after he resurrected and came back into the earth and was there for 40 days, teaching them things pertaining to the kingdom of heaven. And at the time of his ascension into the heaven, the men were now encountering angels that stood there describing what Yahushua was about to embark on, right? Same way he going to heaven is the same way he's going to come back. So now all that leaves. It says in verse 12, then returned they unto Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is from Jerusalem a Sabbath day's journey, right? Meaning the time that most people, so they wouldn't be burdensome, would travel on the Sabbath day, right? You wouldn't make it like you got to go and do a whole long haul and go do certain things on the Sabbath day under normal conditions. But it shows you that here during during their leave from where they were to going back to Jerusalem, they were near Mount Olivet, like Mount of Olives, and now they're going. So there's mountainous regions. So now when we read other storylines, when we read other books that goes into certain things, and it mentions these mounts or it mentions the geography of what's going on, you understand, right? No one, if you say, listen, I'm going to travel from here to North Carolina because I'm going to keep the feast, you got to consider the time it's going to take, right? Is there traffic along the way, right? Is there this? You got to know the terrain or where you're going to travel, right? So every little bit of information that we get in the scriptures allows us to understand something else even more. So it's a good thing to kind of tap into some things at times, right? You don't have to go so deep, but it's good to be, measured around with a lot of different things, right? So when it talks about us or them at that time dwelling in the mountains, it's because that whole area within the inheritance of Judah and Simeon was a mountainous area, that geography, right, throughout Israel. So let's go back to Judith chapter 11 and verse 3 now. So Judith 11 and 3, it says, but now tell me, wherefore thou art fled from them and art come unto us? For thou art come for safeguard. Be of good comfort, thou shalt live this night and hereafter. Right? So let me hear from your mouth why you left your people and came here for succor, for safety. Right? It's not a problem. You'll be good in my hands. I just want to know what's going on with your people. Verse 4, for none shall hurt thee, but entreat thee well, as they do the servants of King Nebuchadnezzar, my lord. Then Judith said unto him, receive the words of thy servant, and suffer thine handmaid to speak in thy presence, and I will declare no lie to my lord this night. Now, remembering when we read back in chapter 9, right, that she said in verse 10, Judith chapter 9, verse 10, smite by the deceit of my lips the servant with the prince, and the prince with the servant, break down their stateliness by the hand of a woman. So that was her prayer to the Most High, that he would empower her to use her words deceitfully to now go and destroy the enemy. Right? To go, because they're looking to come and destroy our place, because we didn't want to make an alliance with them when they went to war some years prior. So now she's going in, and this is the beginning of the fulfillment of that verse. Right? So I'm gonna read it again. Then said unto him, then Judith said unto him, receive the words of thy servant. I'm back in 11 and 5 in the book of Judith. And suffer thine handmaid to speak in thy presence, and I will declare no lie to my lord this night. And if thou wilt follow the words of thine handmaid, God will bring the thing perfectly to pass by thee, and my lord shall not fail of his purposes. Right? So if you take to heart what I'm saying, everything will go to plan. Right? No problem. Right? Everybody likes a traitor. Right? Someone who is embedded with the people. That's their people, but then they now cross sides because they think that they're going to be the next ones to rule, or we have no shot at defending ourselves, so we're going to go and side with the enemy and spill the beans.
So she's told him that she's not going to tell him no lie, right? Right. But she is lying.
Right. She's deceiving him.
She's deceiving him. So, in other words, we could lie to the other nation if it served the will of the Most High.
Correct. So let's just say you're in the strait and your enemy come to you. You got your family hidden, right? Your family's hidden in a barn, and they come in to slaughter, and they come up to you and they say, is your family in that barn back there? Because you know they're coming to kill. You're going to say, come, my family's in that barn back. No, they over there somewhere, because you're now trying to defend yourself and your family. So against opposition, against your enemy, yes, you can deceive them. But your people, you're not going to go and deceive your own people. You're not going to just go out there and blatantly lie to your own people, right? That's why when you understand the will of the Most High and you understand the law, I think Kahan Abiyah, a couple weeks ago, he went into how King David, when he was in the hands of the enemy or the heathen, he went and acted like he was out of his mind because he figured they was going to kill him. So he said, oh, isn't this the king, the one who was killing thousands? And he heard them, and he said, and he started wilding out. And it was like, yo, who is this? What kind of person y'all done brought up in here? Because he feared that they was going to kill him. So he tried to now deceive the people, thinking that he wasn't who he was. But now when it's us, no, we're not. It's against the law to do that. Same thing when you go into the beauty of the law. There's certain laws that Israel, we could do to the nations, but you can't do to your own, right? We can get them bad food. You can't give bad food to your own people. You can give usury upon them, but you can't commit usury upon your own people. So even in the law, the Most High has a line drawn of what can and can't be done with Israel and what you are allowed to do to the heathen. It comes with wisdom and understanding. And that's why the testimonies that go along with the law aids in confirming what the Most High's intentions are. So now reading on, we have verse 7. As Nebuchadnezzar, king of all the earth, liveth, and as his power liveth, who hath sent thee for the upholding of every living thing, for not only men shall serve him by thee, but also the beasts of the field, and the cattle, and the fowls of the air shall live by thy power under Nebuchadnezzar and all his house. For we have heard of thy wisdom and thy policies, and it is reported in all the earth that thou only art excellent in all the kingdom, and mighty in knowledge, and wonderful in feats of war. Right? So this is kind of like pumping them up, right? Puffing their head up as to say, hey, we've heard all the great things that you're doing and how he's set up over all humans, animals, everything, right? So these are things that a person wants to hear, right? You want to hear these things to now confirm that this nation or this person is in league or alliance with you. So it says in verse 9, now, as concerning the matter which Achior did speak in thy counsel, we have heard his words. For the men of Bethulia saved him, and he declared unto them all that he had spoken unto thee. Right? So Achior, his testimony to Nebuchadnezzar and those that was there present is probably one of the hidden gems that's in the Apocrypha. You know, as we went through it before, because it outlined the details, confirmed as a testimony that the other nations at different points in time and certain people of other nations understand where our strength lies, right? They know what allows us to flourish above all people in the planet Earth. I'm going to read it again in Judith, the 5th chapter, just as a reminder of what his testimony was if you are not in the service a couple months back. So this is Judith chapter 5, and I'm going to start from 13 and read on down. Judith chapter 5 and 13. It says, and Yahweh dried the Red Sea before them. So he's going into the accounts of how the Most High delivered this nation Israel from the Egyptians, and how the Red Sea was parted by Moses, and then the sea came and destroyed them after they had gotten to the other side when the Egyptians came in. It says, and brought them to Mount Sinai and Cades Barnea, and cast forth all that dwelt in the wilderness. So they dwelt in the land of the Amorites, and they destroyed by their strength all them of Esabon, and passing over Jordan, they possessed all the hill country. So it's now going from the time when we left Egypt, went through the Red Sea, was in the wilderness, and then left the wilderness, and then went into the land of the land of Canaan, and started destroying the Hamites, right? The Amorites, the Hittites, so forth and so on, and started taking certain things. And then we went to Jordan, right? So he now has detailed accounts about our history, right? It says, reading on, and they cast forth before them the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Jebusite, and the Shechemite, and all the Girgasites, and they dwelt in that country many days, right? Meaning we overthrew them by the power and will of the Most High, because the Most High commanded Joshua and those that were with him to go and destroy those Hamites at that time and take the land, because it was a land that was promised to our ancestors going all the way back to Abraham, right? The Most High had promised Abraham his seed would inherit a land in the future, right? It says in verse 17, and whilst they sinned not before their power, they prospered, because the power that hateth iniquity was with them, right? So all the time when the Most High gave us the law, this Ammonite knew that if we didn't sin, we would prosper above everybody, right? It says, verse 18, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captives into a land that was not theirs. And the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies, right? So he has accounts. So it would be interesting, because we already know we have what they call the Moabite stone. Google it, I think they call it Meshite stone, but the Moabite stone, which is an account of a certain period in our history during King Mesha, when you read it in the Kings and the Chronicles, when we now was dealing with the Moabites, or the so-called Chinese people known today. And they recorded an account on their record. It was kept in we would call it a stone or a tablet, written in the ancient language, from their view of how they were able to take us down, right? How they were able to overthrow us and how they gloried in it, right? So the other nations have their accounts. You may not be able to find it so easily on Google. You may not be able to find it so easily even in the library, because certain manuscripts, certain artifacts are kept hidden. That's why you read in Psalms, Olis and Judith, when you read in Psalms, chapter 83. Psalms chapter 83, verses 1 down to 5. Psalms 83, verses 1 to 5. It says, keep not thou silence, O power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. Meaning, don't forget what these guys have done, these nations have done, right? Don't keep still. Please bring forth your judgment unto them. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, right? So how do you cut a people off so that their name is no more in remembrance? There's different ways. You can go to war and just try to eradicate them, right? You can go to war and try to take them out. But that hasn't happened. That hasn't worked. Throughout all the captivities, throughout all the trials of dealing with the heathen, they've all tried it, but it has not worked, because the Most High said he would not utterly destroy us, meaning to allow them to utterly wipe us out. The Most High is keeping a stay that won't happen. So what's the next best way that you could try to destroy a people? That's what Achior is testifying here, is to know that if we don't keep the will of the Father, the Most High would allow the enemies to come and to destroy us, to take us into captivity. Do all the things that they're doing right now. I watched this morning on a what do they call it thing where the cops wear not dash cam thing that they got on their bodies and their chests, the camera, whatever it is, the camera that the cop had. He was in a bodega with the brother, told the brother put his hands behind his back. He walked out the store, still talking. He's like, just put your hands behind your back. And he's like, why? What'd I do? What'd I do? And the brother took off running. Edomite cop ran after him. You can see the dash cam. He got the taser thing. He shoots you and electrocutes you. He's running and he's shooting it. And he's shooting. He's about 30 yards ahead of him. And he's trying to shoot it. You can hear it. And he's running. He's running. He's getting out of breath. Getting out of breath. You know, did it about 2-3 times. After a while, he said, forget this. Pulled out his gun. Bow! Bow! The guy's running. Shot him. In the back. Man down. Call it EMS. Call it. I just seen it this morning. I don't know what the actual date was, but I seen the body cam. That's what it is. The body cam. Call it EMS. And then they showed it from, because he ran across a gas station. Then you see the camera from the gas station. There was another cop running behind him. So they're running, and he shoots him. He's down, laying on the ground, bleeding. I'm like, Dad, this guy's running. There was no threat. He had nothing, right? Why would he just think that it'll be okay to just say, hey, I got tired, man. The taser ain't doing it. I'm going to get him, right? But it happens so often. So, yeah, they could do these type things. That's why the scripture said, don't be still, Most High. Don't keep still against them. Somehow, some way, we got to get revenge. Someone has to be paid their judgment for what they've been doing to us. But now here it says they want to cut us off, which means you have no regard for them as a people. So what do? You give them misinformation. Tell them that they're heathens, that they're nothing, that they're worthless, that they're lazy, that they're this, right? You give them the worst food. You poison them with either physical medicines, food, knowledge. That keeps them further and further away. Because now you know that if they don't do the will, Most High, leave them in. Lead them over to their own ruin, right? But it says here, they have now conspired together, right? That's why you don't have them all standing up and saying, yo, man, this guy, eat him. This guy's the devil. You know, y'all the real Jews, man. Y'all the real. You don't see Elam standing up, saying it, right? You don't see them clamoring for it. Everybody got social media, right? They can put it out there. You don't see Ammon doing it. You don't see Moab doing it, right? You don't see the Japhetic people doing it because they have all, I'm going to read verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And as you read down, it lists some of the nations that have been confederate with one another. This shows us that they all know. May not be the guy at the Verizon store, guy at the Verizon store. He might be clueless. He's fed into the lies too. He might be clueless. But the constituents, the people that, the older generation, people who pass laws and judgments, they go into these sinning houses, these different places, they know because they have the records. They live off the records. They live off legacies. So they know. That's why Gamar Nasser, from Prime Minister from Egypt, he got frustrated with it because they were putting him in a position. They were putting him in a bind. They were trying to push them out, trying to take over. So he had to say, hold on, man. Hold on. Y'all, you're not the real guys, right? Y'all know that, right? And you can hardly find that on the internet. If you YouTube Googled it to go find that interview, you ain't gonna find it. It's gonna be a hard press. You'll see the posting of it, the words of what was said. The caption. But to get the whole complete interview of him sitting down having that conversation, it's going to be hard. Not to say that it is not being done or it can't be done, but it's going to be a hard find. And many of us that's in the community know that it existed, but certain things get removed or made more difficult to acquire. Right? So again, what he's saying here, right? And he's in verse 7, right? Gabal and Ammon, right? Ammon is who Achior comes from, right? They know this stuff. So going back to Judith Chapter 5. Let's go back to Judith Chapter 5. Reread 19. So sometimes when people hear the message coming out, they say, man, these guys just hate mongers. That's all they are, man. Stand on hate, man. Why? Then you read the Bible, and our ancestors were standing on the same thing. Like Most High, don't forget these guys, man. Jack them up. Destroy them. for what they've done and are doing. When we said it's a problem because today people love evil and hate the good, right? Things have done a 180, right? Not a 360, but a 180. 360 bring you right back to where you are, right? So they do a 180, and now they love things that are wicked and hate things that are righteous. And it seduced even our people to believe some of this nonsense at times. So reading on back in Judith Chapter 5, verse 19, it says, but now are they returned to their power and are come up from the places where they were scattered and have possessed Jerusalem, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Now, therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. So he indirectly planted the seed, even though they opposed him through pride. He planted the seed. That's what she's referencing right now, as we're in the 11th chapter, right? He planted the seed about our downfall. But he's like, oh man, get the heck, who is their God? I'm God. What are you talking about? Right? Pride got in. But now she's reconfirming in a certain way that what he's saying is truthful. But let me give you the breakdown. That's what she's about to do. Let's go back to Judith chapter 11 and verse 9 again. It says, now as concerning the matter which Achior did speak in thy counsel, we have heard his words, for the men of Bethulia saved him, and he declared unto them all that he had spoken unto thee. Therefore, O Lord and Governor, reject not his word, but lay it up in thine heart, for it is true. For our nation shall not be punished, neither can the sword prevail against them, except they sin against their power. So if you're a Christian, you're somebody who's reading the scriptures and you're trying to find, we shall overcome, how are we going to overcome? It's telling you, don't sin. Stop sinning collectively. Jeremiah 4:1 tells us to return, to come back to the Most High by not sinning. Once we do that, nobody can stop us. The Most High will not allow it. Yahweh Shah will not allow it. But then we've been seduced to thinking, yeah, keep the law. It's nailed to the cross. You don't read the history. What was our downfall? Every time it was sin, right? It says in verse 11, and now that my Lord be not defeated and frustrate of his purpose, even death is now fallen upon them, and their sin have overtaken them, wherewith they will provoke their power to anger, whensoever they shall do that which is not fit to be done, right? So don't get frustrated. It's already working its work, right? They're going to sin. They're going to sin. It's happening. It's about to happen. Trust me. Just listen to me. That's what she's saying. But their victuals failed them. Remember, they tried to stall them out with the water so they could be in famine. They won't have no victuals and certain things where they would not have to lift up sword or send nobody in. They would force them to come and bow down because they don't want to die of dearth or famine, right? So it says, for their victuals fail them, and all their water is scant, meaning it's almost gone, parched. And they have determined to lay hands upon their cattle and purpose to consume all those things that Yahweh have forbidden them to eat by his laws. That's what you read in Leviticus, the 11th chapter, I think starting in, verse 2 or 3, where it tells you the beasts that you should eat of the land, and then the ones that you shall not eat of the land. Talks about it also in Deuteronomy, the 14th chapter, right? You have it in Leviticus, and then you have it in Deuteronomy, because the new generation had to now be given the law. But she's now giving him insight to say that we're so now thirst of food and drink that they're almost about to be able to start eating animals unclean. Camels, donkeys, swine, right? When you read it in the law, these animals were not to be eaten, but they're getting to a point where they can't maintain anymore. They can't hold it, right? This is kind of like the testimony that most Muslims would like to use, because they'll say, when you read it in the Quran, sure, we don't eat swine, but that's the only thing they eat. It's the only thing they eat. Forget the name of, I forget the surah, right? In the Quran. If it's the only thing they eat, it's okay to eat it. It's okay, right? So that's where she's now looking to articulate that to Holofernes, that we're almost at that point that we're looking to eat this food, right? Unclean food. So it says in verse 13, and are resolved to spend the first fruits of the corn and the tents of wine and oil which they had sanctified, and reserved for the priests that serve in Jerusalem before the face of our power, the which things it is not lawful for any of the people so much as to touch with their hands. So not only do they want to go and eat unclean foods, but they also want to go and eat of the holy foods that's only reserved for the Levitical priesthood, right? Now, according to testimony, we know that it was allowed or lawful to do, right? Go to 1 Samuel chapter 21. 1 Samuel chapter 21. First Samuel chapter 21. I'm going to start from 1. Got it?
First Samuel chapter 21 and verse 1. Then came David to Nod to Ahimelech the priest, and Ahimelech was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, why art thou alone, and no man with thee?
Mm-hmm.
And David said unto him, Ahimelech the priest, that the king has commanded me a business, and had said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I sent thee, and what I have commanded thee. And I have appointed my servant to such and such a place.
So now, if you know or remember, when we read for the new moon, right? 1 Samuel, the 20th chapter, when it goes into the storyline where Jonathan and David have a conversation to show how King Saul had an evil spirit towards David. And David didn't show up to the king's palace to eat on the new moon. Go through that whole storyline, I think almost every new moon. This is following that. This is right after David was not there at the new moon, right? And now he's on the run because Saul is still looking to kill him, right? Now, when you get into this, I went here for one reason, but it's also going to show for another reason that is a stumbling block to some camps. To some camps, it's a stumbling block about how we keep the new moon and the Sabbath, right? Read on.
Verse 3. Now therefore, what is under thy hand, give me 5 loaves of bread, and my hand, or what there is present.
Right. So David is there with the priest in the temple, and he's seeing that he has some food of some sort under his hand. So he's questioning, what's there? Give me some of it. Read.
Verse 4. And the priest answered David and said, there is no common bread under my hand, but there is hollow bread, if their young men have kept themselves at least from women.
Right. So he says there's no common bread, meaning bread that anyone could eat. This is hollow bread, meaning bread that was only made hollow for the priest. It's separated only for the priest. You read about that in Exodus 25th chapter, right? So that's the only thing that's here. It's not really meant for you to eat. Read.
Verse 5. And David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth woman have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out, and the vessel of the young man are holy, and the bread is in a manner common. Yea, thou is where sanctified this day in the vessel.
Right, because the question was, if these men were unclean, the priests are supposed to be holy when they're around the temple. So now David is asking for this bread for him and those that are with him. And the priest is saying, listen, this is only hollow bread. Or have the men, you and the men that's with you, been away from women? Not that you was just walking by a woman. Is really getting into, have you been with a woman, or was there an opportunity that you could have been made unclean by a woman? Either be sex, right? Or if a woman was on her menstrual and you are around her, you would be unclean. That would now eliminate you from being able to now partake or even be there. You shouldn't even be there. So the priest had to use wisdom and ask the question. And then David says, of a truth, we have been kept away for 3 days at a minimum from women, right? So that 3 days, a spiritual number, you got 3, 7, 12, so forth and so on, that you read throughout the scriptures. So these 3 days, they confirm that they had not been around women, right? Read on.
1 Samuel 21 and verse 6. So the priest gave him hollow bread, for there was no bread there, but the showbread that was taken from before the Lord to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away.
Right. So the priest gave them the hollow bread to eat, right? Because these men were hungry. They don't want to say, you can't eat it, go and leave, and these men go die somewhere of famine. So they said, you know what? The priest used wisdom through the Spirit, and he gave them the hollow bread after they confirmed that they were not around women and had not been unclean, right? So that became a testimony. That was a point of reference. It's just like in courts and the law, when they got to court, go to court, they always reference something that happened in the past. Well, based on what happened with Roe v. Wade 40 years ago, that stood as a statute. So now I can do this. This would be a pivotal thing to show Israel that, you know what? Sometimes it may not be lawful for just a regular person to do, but in certain circumstances, when it comes to, dire circumstances, maybe we do this. It's not a bad thing. The Spirit moved this priest to do that, right? Hold this. I'm going to come back to 1 Samuel 21. Go to Matthew chapter 12.
So I see why you said that. Some can't use it as far as for the swine.
No, I'm not. I'm going to go back to that. I've been going to why my purpose for saying certain can'ts stumble at around this. Matthew 12 and 1. I'm going to read this one. Matthew chapter 12, verse 1. It says, at that time, Yahushua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were anhungered and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. When the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day, right? Because when you go into the law, you're not supposed to cast any birds on the Sabbath. You're not supposed to go out there and pick any corn and do certain things. You read as a testimony in the law that there were certain men that went and did that, and the Most High went and killed them for doing it, right? So they're like, oh, what y'all doing? Y'all out here picking corn? They're thinking they're just doing it by leisure. But it says that these men were hungered, right? They were starving. They needed some food to eat. Verse 3, but he said unto them that he is Yahushua, have you not read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him? How he entered into the house of Yahweh and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them that were with him, but only for the priests. You, being a Pharisee, did you not read that what happened? Did you question what happened in 1 Samuel 21? Right? Verse 5. Or have you not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days, the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless, right? So on the Sabbath day, they do things which according to the law would make someone unclean. but they are left blameless, meaning the Most High does not hold them accountable for that because they are doing that which is good or righteous in the Most High's eyes.
What did they do?
As far as for the sacrifices and things, when they go and kill animals, you know, the Lord says when you are the shedding of blood and certain things down, it makes a person unclean, right? So when they're in the temple around all that blood and shedding, normally you would say, I mean, this person is unclean, but not the priests. They're blameless because that's their office. That's what they do, right? They're around dead carcasses and certain things, and it would seem that would make them unclean, amongst other things according to the law that they do according to the priesthood. So Yahushua knows this. He thinks that they should know this because they're Pharisees. They're students of the law. And knowing that the Most High does not hold them accountable for those things because he told them to do it, right? Then he says, but I say unto you that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, ye will not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is even the Lord, for the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath day. So the Most High allows mercy to come in on the Sabbath day for certain things when it's not lawful. Good example. You may walk out and there's no food in here. Somebody comes out, yo, brother, I haven't eaten in 2 days. Just give me a peanut. Just give me something. Dad, we don't have nothing in here. But it's a store right there. Let me go get the brother something to eat, right? I'm going to go get something for the brother to eat. On normal occasions, if we're here and we show up to the Sabbath day and it's like, dag, man, I ate my food. I'm a little bit more hungry. Let me go down here to the Benjamin spot and just buy some food. No, that's careless. You didn't properly prepare. You know better, right? You could have made certain things. Matter of fact, you just ate. That's just gluttony. You mean you can't wait the next 3-4 hours? That part is not blameless. That part you can be held accountable for that because in your mind, you're doing it out of your own desires and not out of actual need and necessity. So certain things, the Most High and Yahushua has laid this out, that there's mercy allowed for these things to happen, like what David did, right? So that's the understanding. And as she's making this known, we can't say that, oh, it will be a sin. No, because it's already happened as a part of testimony.
But you use the same situation as far as with the swine. If it's a life and death situation, that's the only thing that's around to eat. So you use that scripture to say, oh,
nah, can't use that.
I know that about the woman with the 8.
No, that's not I'm talking about that. I was going to use in Kings. I was going to use in Kings. That too. That's good. Yes, when Elijah, where there was a famine going on, the Most High brought him food by a bird. He ain't had no food. The Most High had the ravens or something bring him food, right? So now you read that as a testimony. You say to yourself, "Dad, Elijah stood tall. He had no food, man. He could have died right there." But the Most High, because he was a righteous man, he made it so that he could eat. Damn. The Most High do that for me. If I'm a righteous man, I got to trust the Most High. I got to stand by his will. So now you got testimonies, plural, because it's several different occasions where sometimes you feel that you are in dire straits and there's no resolve, there's no outcome. And then the Most High come in and intervene, right? I always make that, put it out there as a something to think about, because in these last days, that's why we have to strengthen ourselves spiritually. In these last days, when we speak about race wars and all those other different things, and we've already seen accounts where sometimes in certain insurrections, people will go and pillage a whole area, the supermarket, and there's nothing left. All the bins and everything is bare. The trucks ain't coming in because they're afraid somebody gonna take them out, right? During the times of the COVID, they were showing you where the trucks were supposed to be delivering their victuals and services to the supermarkets. They were stopping on the highway, selling their stuff to the highest bidder on the highway
What?
during COVID. Yeah, I remember clear day seeing it. Right? Trucks was on the side selling that stuff out the back of the doggone trucks, man. And you over at the supermarket thinking it's coming to Acme. Like, yo, man, where the truck is at? Hey, over there. Because some people are going to try to make a fast buck.
Well, why were they doing it?
To make a fast buck. I seen people go and buy all those toilet tissues. Remember, toilet tissues was like it was gold. Yes, they was making deals. They was delivering and they was stopping places, and the person would come with all money and buy it all up, and they was selling rolls, $3, $5 a roll. A roll. And people was doing it. I went to the supermarket and there was no toilet tissue, and there was a brother standing out there selling toilet tissues. Right? When you're in the straight, hey, what's going to come? What's going?
In the straight?
Who?
The people that were selling the toilet tissue, they had a job. They was driving the tissue to the supermarket. So why was they in the straight?
No. Well, again, if in America is a capitalistic society, so if I could make a quick, fast buck, if I could make a good amount of money and come with a good storyline, I'm going to do it. Right? Yo, man, these jokers stop me. They stopped me on the such and such street. What am I going to do? You see what kind of condition we living in here? And yo, man, they stole all my stuff. Right? Yeah. And they may not even jeopardize it. They say, yo, man, I got stuck up. I got this happen to me. But I know with my own eyes, I've seen this happening. I was like, damn, this is crazy. So when you in a situation, yeah, you might feel that way. But the testimony shows you still stand with the Most High. He will deliver you. Yahushua turned 2 fish and 5 loaves into feeding thousands. So if you're sitting in your house, in your apartment, condo, wherever you at, and all of a sudden there's no food, and you're in your house and you're praying, you're standing tall, you're reading, you're trying to comfort and admonish the people. You went yesterday. You went in there. All you seen was a half gallon of milk down to like a quarter. Right? You're seeing a molded loaf of bread. Still in the spirit, doing what you're doing. All of a sudden, yo, what the heck? Bang, bang! The fridge is full. The fridge is full. Right? Spirit had it where, boom, Most High blessed you. Right? All praise to the Most High Yahushua. All praise, right? Deliver you quails. You go outside like, yo, look at all these quails out here. I don't know how to cook quails, but hey, somebody gonna help me. So yeah, you got to try to stand tall. But now, go back to 1 Samuel 21. Why I said the second good thing that came out of this testimony. The second good thing, right? Because the reading of what's going on, I mean, I touched on this a couple new moons 2 years ago. The reading of what's going on with this storyline is that David was in the temple when they was eating the showbread, or they had the showbread just hot and cooked. In the law, you cook the showbread when? On the Sabbath days, right? The showbread is supposed to be prepared on the Sabbath days. So now, the last chapter, in chapter 20, goes into the storyline with them keeping the new moon, right? So now you got the new moon, and then David testifies here in verse 5, and David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days, right? 3 days from whence he left Jonathan and them and went on a run. So now he comes to the temple. It's a Sabbath day. Some people say the new moon determines the Sabbath day. So once the new moon comes in, you count 7 days from then, and then you get the Sabbath day. That can't be true if 3 days from whence he left Jonathan and them on the new moon, he's coming to the priest and they got the showbread. That means the showbread is there cooking, it's hot. That means it's the Sabbath day. So the new moon does not determine the Sabbath day, right? When you even go into the beginnings in the creation, right? The new moon came in, right? I think it's the Genesis chapter 1, verses 14, 15, right? The Sabbath day didn't come in until the 7th day. The new moon came in on the 3rd or 4th day. I can't remember which one. It didn't change it where he said, okay, let me count down 7 days from there, and then I'm going to get to the Sabbath day. No, right? The Sabbath day is not predicated on the new moon, right? And it shows you here and it shows you there. So some camps will do that. Now, they're trying, right? They're trying according to their knowledge. They're trying. I'm not condemning no brother. I'm not condemning no camp. I'm not going to say they can't get to the kingdom. I'm not, because they're still keeping the new moon and they're trying to keep the Sabbath day. If they're off here and they continue to do that to the time if their heart and their spirit is pure, right? They're doing it sincere. Yahweh Shai will clear all that up in the end, right? And I'm pretty sure that there's a camp that could say, yeah, but HYK, y'all brothers is doing, y'all believe this, and we don't think that's right, right? And we're sincere and we're pure based on scripture, law, testimony. Yahweh Shai clear all of that up. Every camp is, you got so many camps, all the camps don't see everything eye to eye, right? I think everybody that's on this line could probably pick out a camp and says, yo, these guys believe this. This one can't believe it's that. It's that. This camp. There's 3 or 4 camps that kind of like a 90% all on the same thing with a little few things here and there. But the hardcore things, who Israel is, who Yahweh Shai came and who died for, what the Most High's will is as far as for the commandments, and what the judgment of the Most High is. Like that across the board. 100%. Maybe one camp. I don't want to say the name because, you know, some camps, few camps, maybe one camp that I know of kind of brings in heathens into the fold, which blurs the line, right? It's like, how? Right? How they gonna get judgment if they in the camp, if they keeping the feast day? Like, that don't make any sense. But needless to say, this will show you that they're keeping the Sabbath day based on a new moon, according to this testimony, doesn't align correctly, because David lets you know that he had now come from King Saul and he had sent him on a, even though he didn't do it, sent him on his business to now go here, and it's been 3 days since the new moon, and now he's coming upon the Sabbath. All right. Questions on that? Write it down. We always enjoy brothers and sisters bringing it to the Tuesday class or the Friday night class. Let's go back to Judith, chapter 11. I didn't mean to spend too much time on that, but it was Spirit ran with it. So Judith chapter 11, verse 14. It says, for they have sent some to Jerusalem, because they also that dwell there have done the like, to bring them a license from the Senate. So she's saying that now there's certain men that went to Jerusalem to go speak to the elders. When it's talking about the Senate, it's talking about the elders, like the Sanhedrin, those people who are now giving dictation on what you can and cannot do. She's saying it's even hard over there, and they start doing it. So now we're waiting to hear word from them that's in Jerusalem to come back to where we at to see if we could do the same thing, right? Verse 15. Now when they shall bring them word, they will forthwith do it, and they shall be given thee to be destroyed the same day. So once they come back and give word that you can go and eat unclean animals and defile holy things, then they're sinning. Then you can go and take them down, right? Then you can go and destroy them, right? Now, let's just say that was the truth. Let's just say while she's there, all Israel just wilding out. Yeah, the Most High would allow them to come take us down, right? Because Israel is now enamored with sin. But that wasn't the case. They were waiting on her to go and fulfill her mission as she had instructed them, right? It says in verse 16, wherefore I, thine handmaid, knowing all this, am fled from their presence. And Yahweh hath sent me to work things with thee, whereat all the earth shall be astonished, and whosoever shall hear it. For thy servant is religious or righteous, following the wills of the Most High, keeping the laws, the statutes, the commandments, and serveth the power of heaven day and night. Now, therefore, my Lord, I will remain with thee, and thy servant will go out by night into the valley, and I will pray unto Yahweh, and he will tell me when they are committed their sins. Right? So she's established the plan. Once I hear word that they've sinned, you can go in and take them out. I'm going to stay here. Only give me leave that in the night I can go into the valley to pray to the Father so that he can tell me when it happens. Once he tells me it happens, then I come back and I let you know, now is the time. Now you can go, right? Verse 18, and I will come and show it unto thee. Then thou shalt go forth with all thine army, and there shall be none of them that shall resist thee, right? It says, and I will lead thee through the midst of Judea until thou come before Jerusalem. And I will set thy throne in the midst thereof, and thou shalt drive them as sheep that have no shepherd, and a dog shall not so much as open his mouth at thee. For these things were told me according to my foreknowledge, and they were declared unto me, and I am sent to tell thee, right? That's how we're supposed to be, right? No dog is supposed to, or person is supposed to speak to us. You read that in Exodus 11:7, right? Shall not a dog move his tongue against Israel. Same thing how Yahushua called the Syrophoenician woman a dog, right? Because the nations beneath us are like animals. They're like dogs. They're not on our level. No one should buck up. No one should speak out against the children or the people of the Most High. I'm going to read that real quick. Exodus 11:7. So this is what said when we was coming out of Egypt. I'm going to read from 11:6. Exodus 11:6. So in Exodus 11:6, it says, and there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be like it anymore, because the Lord now was fulfilling the plague of the killing of the firstborn. Verse 7, but against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that ye may know how the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel, letting you know that it was speaking about people, right? The Lord put a difference between those people and Israel. They're like dogs. They're like beasts, right? That's why Yahushua said what he said in Matthew's chapter 15. And verse 26. I'm going to start at 25. So Matthew's chapter 15 and 25, it says, then came she and worshiped him. The she is the woman of Canaan. The he is Yahushua, or the him is Yahushua, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet, or you're not worthy or right. It's not worthy or right to take the children's bread, the children being the children of Israel, and cast it to dogs, right? Speaking about the person, the people, right? Because it says plural, right? It's not just talking about one person, it's talking about them all. And then she answers, verse 27, and she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table, letting you know that the children of Israel were set up always to be set up as the masters running the earth. But because of sin, because of iniquity, like Achior said, the Most High would give them over to their ruin, and other nations would now be over them. And it would almost be like we are now dogs to them, because everything that we need, like it talks about in Deuteronomy 28:48, we got to go to the other nations for all our desires, clothing, food. We have to now pander them to get it. You start a business, you got to go pander to someone else to get materials and certain things. You got to pander to get a license to do that. You got to pay taxes to them, right? So we would be subservient to them because of our sin, but it was always set up that we would be the masters running the show. All right, let's go back to Judith. Chapter 11. and verse 20. Then her words pleased Holofernes and all his servants, and they marveled at her wisdom and said, there is not such a woman from one end of the earth to the other, both for beauty and beauty of face and wisdom of words. Right? So she was double trouble. Double trouble. On one hand, sometimes people fall victim to just the face, the body, the allure, but she's an airhead, right? On the other hand, sometimes you may have someone who may not be as appealing, but full of wisdom, right? You're enamored with the wisdom that comes out of that person's mouth, and you just want to sit and probably talk with them all day long. Yo, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? When you put them together, you put that package together, man, right? It says in 30:22, likewise, Holofernes said unto her, Yahweh hath done well to send thee before the people, that strength might be in our hands and destruction upon them that lightly regard my Lord. So it's a good thing that he saved you by sending you to me, so that you can, have a safeguard, and they're going to be destroyed. That's a good thing that your God did. It's pride, because really, you know what our God is about to do, what our power is about to do? Verse 23, and now thou art both beautiful in thy countenance and witty in thy words. Surely if thou do as thou hast spoken, thy power shall be as my power, and thou shalt dwell in the house of King Nebuchadnezzar, and shall be renowned through the whole earth. Right? So he's like, listen, if this come to pass, what you telling me about your power, I'm going to go and worship him. I'm going to serve him. Right? You kind of have this happen in different times, right? Where during the times of Esther, now they want to be like us and follow our God, and Ruth and Maccabees, when King Antiochus, he now reverenced and recognized the Most High as the true power after the Most High plagued them. But you have moments where you have heathens that will say things like this, and either sometimes even follow it, but it does not mean that they are Israel according to the flesh. It does not mean that those accounts now justify someone also receiving the salvation or the deliverance. No, it's just for that time, they just chose to follow our ways, because over time, they left it. Over time, they stopped, right? It was never meant for them to continue in it like us, right? We will continue in it until Yahushua comes, and then when Yahushua comes, it'll continue on forever in a perfect manner, meaning we won't sin anymore, according to the prophecies in Hebrews 8 chapter 8 on down. Now, let's go into the Salak. Let me read a couple of verses that Elder Zaquan posted. Luke 6:9. Then said Yahushua unto them, I will ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath days to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it? Beautiful scripture to go with the precepts that we was reading pertaining to 1 Samuel 21 and Matthew 12, to now show that it is good to be merciful on the Sabbath day, right? And then Matthew 6:26, behold the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are you not much better than they? Right? Going back to if there was nothing else to eat. I sometimes, like the scriptures I think it's in Proverbs, where it says, consider the ant. That scripture from years ago always intrigued me, because the scripture says, consider the ant. And then when you go and you just look at ants, we just be walking on the street, see them in the cracks, ant farm, and you want to kick it and step on it and pour a Coke soda on it and kill them all. But the Most High says to consider the ant, because there's something about how they operate that we as humans, as we as the chosen, can learn from, right? So even not just the ant, like how you mentioned as far as for the different fowls of the air. There's times when I'm sitting, I'm looking at the birds, and I'm looking at how they're going to different trees and eating the fruits, the little small little fruits that we don't even go and pluck them out. We just think, it's just something that's growing on a tree. They go and they eat it. and they go about their day. They go here, they go there, they stop here, they get a little water, they go here, get a little fruit over here, another fruit from over there. Like that. It's kind of intriguing how Yahushua expounded upon that, how the Lord has it where they're fed. They don't have to toil. They're not planting the seed and doing all that. They just go eat, right? So we're much better than the fowls of the air. So don't fret when it may come to those things if you are a willing participant who's doing the will of the Most High. Most High and Yahushua will feed you too. In faith. You got to have the faith. You can't doubt him, right? You got to stand firm and that the Most High will deliver you. He might test you. Might be a day and you ain't getting nothing yet. And you're like, oh, man, it ain't happening. It's a day. It ain't happening. That's because you lack patience. Luke 21:19. In your patience, possess your soul. So you got to be patient. The Most High will work his work in his time, right? So the water for that, elder. Now let's go to Judith Chapter 12, verse 1. It says, then he commanded to bring her into where his plate was set, and bade that they should prepare for her of his own meats, and that she should drink of his own wine. And Judah said, I will not eat thereof, lest there be an offense. For provision shall be made for me, and made for me of the things that I have brought. So you see the same thing with Daniel and others where, those of our nation were wise to not want to just go and sit and eat with the heathen that of their prepared food, because you don't know what type of uncleanness they deal with, right? They, sometimes we're very particular. We're in the straits now and in our captivity where we don't have control over certain things, but we do to a certain degree. Going to the market, I don't eat too much of it anymore, but going to the butcher shop and I want to get some turkey breasts for sandwiches, and I'm fifth in line. And person goes, I'm looking, I'm like, damn, this person's getting doggone ham, this ham and that ham. I'm like, what the heck? Damn, why go fourth in line? The next person, he getting some cheese and he getting this, and then he comes with some abomination. And I get up there, I'm like, excuse me, sir. There's not too much of a bother. I'm allergic to like pork and things like that. If I eat it, it's not going to do well. Can you clean the machine before you cut my turkey or my pastrami or whatever? And some of them are amenable. Sure, no problem, brother. I got you. Clean it. Or if it's an Edomite, sir, no problem. I understand. And they go and do it because you don't want to. You're seeing it. You don't want to be dealing with something that's unclean, right? If you have the ability to question it or ask them to, mitigate the situation, then you do it. Some things is out of our control, right? But now when it comes to you going to somebody else's domain, like what she's doing, to go into his area where his food is being plated and served, and I don't know what they deal with. So it's like, look, she was smart to bring her maid. She ain't go dolo. She brought her maid. No, she gonna prepare some food for us. We're gonna eat what we brought. We got enough food and drink that we'll come there or whatever, but we got our own stuff, right? Daniel and I think somebody else did the same thing where they didn't want to be defiled by the heathen, right? And it goes to wisdom when people is always inviting you out to certain things. You gotta be careful, right? So you don't get defiled by what abominations or whatever they have going on. So I'm gonna read that again, verse 2. And Judah said, I will not eat thereof, lest there be an offense. An offense to whom? The Most High. Because now she's partaking or being around things that's abominable. But provision shall be made for me of the things that I have brought. Then Alophani said unto her, if thy provision should fail, how should we give thee the like? For there be none with us of thy nation. So how about you run out of your food? How do we know what you have? We don't have people who are accustomed to what the Hebrews eat. We eat, all kind of stuff. Probably eating camels and all kind of things. We don't have bullocks or sheep. That's all right now. This is what we like. So how are we going to be able to help you and prepare for the foods to have if yours run out? Verse 4. Then Judah said unto him, as thy soul liveth, my lord, thine handmaid shall not spend those things that I have, before the Lord work by my hand the things that he have determined. So don't worry about that. We ain't gonna run out before we fulfill our mission here. Yeah, exactly. Right. We good. We good. We're gonna ration the food. We good. We're gonna make sure we have enough to sustain us. Right. Verse 5. Then the servants of Holofernes brought her into the tent, and she slept till midnight. And she arose when it was toward the morning watch, and sent to Holofernes, saying, Let my Lord now command that thine handmaid may go forth unto prayer. Right? Because she had already said that that's what she was going to do. She was going to remain there, and at a certain point, she would go into the valley and seek word from the Most High. So now is that time. Let your guards make sure that they're all right where we're going to leave. We're not trying to run away. We're just going to go pray, right? It says in verse 7, then Holofernes commanded his guard that they should not stay her. Thus she abode in the camp 3 days and went out in the night into the valley of Bethulia and washed herself in the fountain of water by the camp. And when she came out, she besought the Lord power of Israel to direct her way to the raising up of the children of her people, right? So she left and went and cleansed herself, went and washed herself, and then came before the Most High, right? So even that is a good telling testimony to also put into practice, right? Because you go all the way back to Exodus when Moses went to go and speak to the Most High, and he called all the men to come before the mount. And then Moses told him, stay away from your wives 3 days and make sure you wash yourself before you come to the Most High. So there's a cleansing type ritual that you would also put into practice as you now come before the Lord on his days, whether it's a Sabbath day, a feast day, right? Here, she was just going to go pray, right? She went in the valley, in the mountain spring, washed herself, and went before the Lord. So it's symbolic as far as for a preparation, because there's certain scriptures that talk about preparing your heart and your mind and certain things before you come to the Lord. You just don't want to come rash. You just don't want to just come like you just play ball and you've been praying, I'm going to need to go do, let me go talk to the Most High, right? No, certain things that are planned out, you want to properly do certain things. If you're in a straight and you done fell down and your knee busted up and you're about to come, you're going to make a prayer right then and there, by all means, you make a prayer. Cop pulled you over. We were talking about this before. You was speeding. The cop pulled you over. You see 2 Edomites with the dark sunglasses on. I'm going to set up a prayer right then and there before they get to my window, right? Those you do. But when it's now calculated, you kind of go a little bit more deeper. Verse 9. So she came in clean and remained in the tent until she did eat her meat at evening. And in the 4th day, Holofernes made a feast to his own servants only and called none of the officers to the banquet, right? So this was a special banquet, right? This wasn't for everybody. Sometimes you have banquets and feasts that everybody come to. They feel good, right? Empowered, like, oh, he's a good guy, man. He fed us, we had some food. And then there's others that's just for a select few. Verse 11, then said he to Bogus, the eunuch, who had charge over all that he had, go now and persuade this Hebrew woman which is with thee, that she come unto us and to eat and drink with us, right? So you also see that too as common, where certain rulers or captains of the host would have eunuchs, meaning a man that's been castrated from his members, right? And what that does is it kind of it dehumanizes you, right? Some of that used to happen in slavery with us, where certain masters over their servants, you know, as form of punishment, they would castrate certain men, right? That dehumanizes you, right? You know, as far as for wanting to be a man, right? To go and have a family and certain things, it just messes your spirit up. So they'll have certain men like that who are eunuchs that's over their provisions because they don't have sometimes these thoughts. They're already made base and they're over their harems. What are you going to do? You can't go and lay with these women. So they don't have that desire anymore. So they'll put them over all their possessions and over the women that they have as their harem or certain wives, right? Because you trust them more. So he tells this eunuch to go and now see if Judith and her handmaid will come and partake of a meal with them. Verse 12, for lo, it will be shame for our person if we shall let such a woman go, not having had her company. For if we draw her not unto us, she will laugh us to scorn, right? Thinking like, yo, I know I look, a woman, I look good, Hey, what are these guys funny style? Like, they ain't not one of them asked me to come and sit with them. Like, you would think that you would just show hospitality or try to like, so you married, you have a husband, try to at least hit on her. Because in today's time, when women do that and they see that, first thing they think of, this guy's gay. This guy's gay. Why he don't want me? Like, I wasn't going to give him the time of day anyway, but at least I was waiting for him to shoot a shot. He didn't even desire me. He got to be gay, right? Or something wrong with him, right? It may not even be gay. It might be something wrong with him. They got some kind of things going on. So they feared that would be the storyline. So they said, listen, we got to have her come and sit down with us and eat and talk and do certain things. It's just good hospitality, right? It says in verse 13, then went Boaz, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that, Boaz, from the presence of Holofernes and came to her and he said, let not this fair damsel fear to come to any lord, and to be honored in his presence, and drink wine, and be merry with us, and be made this day as one of the daughters of the Assyrians, which served in the house of Nebuchadnezzar, right? So we're not going to let you kind of be like an outcast. We want to bring you in and make you feel as you one of ours, right? Be hospitable. Verse 14, then said Judith unto him, who am I now that I should gainsay my Lord? Surely whatsoever pleaseth him, I will do speedily, and it shall be my joy unto the day of my death, right? So she gave in. She said, sure, I'll come and sit down and be at banquet with Holofernes and those of his staff. Who am I to deny that, right? Verse 16. So like verse 15. So she arose and decked herself with her apparel and all her woman attire. And her maid went and laid soft skins on the grounds for her over against Holofernes, which she had received of Boaz for her daily use, that she might sit and eat upon. Right, so they kind of laid it out for her. Right, it's like what's that? Coming to America, when his parents came, and they came because Simi requested $1 million, so they thought something gonna happen, and they came with the limousines, and they come out the car, and they dropping flowers on them, so they walking. So they set it up for her, like, yo, we're gonna have it where you're not just gonna be walking on the rough ground. We're gonna lay out the red carpet for you, where you can walk on soft material as you get to where you're going, right? So they kind of showed her, honor as she deserved, right? It says in verse 16, now when Judith came in and sat down, Holofernes, his heart was ravished with her, and his mind was moved, and he desired greatly her company, and he waited a time to deceive her from the day that he had seen her. So from the first time that he seen her, he was spent. It was done, right? Elder Zaquan, I think it was 3 weeks ago, he posted in the script in the chat. When you read in the book of First Esdras, chapter 4. Let's see where you can read from. 15. First Esdras chapter 4 and verse 15. All the way down to 27. Right? Again, that's First Esdras 4, 15 down to 27. That goes into the depths of how men are, like they say, ravished by women. They lose their spirit. They lose their mind. Right? And that's what he's doing. This is from the first day he saw her. He was thinking on how he could deceive her into probably being with her, laying with her, doing whatever he wants to her, having control of her mind or whatever, right? Carnally, some men operate that way, right? They want to figure out a way where not only they could be like, allowing to be a helpmate or to not really care for them, they just want to control or get their mind as they can just do whatever they want, right? It's wicked because they really don't have a care for them. They just want to just manipulate them, right? And just take advantage of them and go their way. The heathen ain't no different, right? He's wanting to do the same thing against a righteous sister of ours. And I'm glad we put the Most High, put the Spirit in her and use her as a vessel to do what we know she's going to do as you read in the storyline. Because he had ill intentions, even though she came to try to help him out. Right? Even though she was coming over there to try to help them win the war, he was kind of deceitfully planning to do something with her. I'm going to read that again in verse 16. Now, when Judah came in and sat down, Holofernes, his heart was ravished with her, and his mind was moved, and he desired greatly her company. For he waited a time to deceive her from the day that he had seen her. Right? And in certain counts, just like in the book of Esther with Ahasuerus, let me read that real quick. Go to the book of Esther. Go to the book of Esther. Give me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. Trying to find where it talks about how the Most High. All right, I think it's here in chapter 5. Nope, it might be in the version in the Apocrypha. Right, go to Esther in the Apocrypha. It's a lot. Esther in the Apocrypha, chapter 15. Page 57 in the Red Apocrypha. Esther chapter 15 and verse 7. Esther 15 and 7. So it reads, it says, then lifting up his countenance, that his is King Ahasuerus, that shone with majesty, he looked very fiercely upon her. And the queen fell down and was pale and fainted, queen being Esther, and bowed herself upon the head of the maid that went before her. Verse 8, then Yahweh changed the spirit of the king into mildness, who in a fear leaped from his throne and took her in his arms till she came to herself again and comforted her with loving words and said unto her, right? So the Most High can at times change the spirit of your enemy, right? Change it right then and there to now have the course or what the Most High's purpose is to have happen to fulfill his will, right? So we see Ahasuerus, he probably was going to come angry and like wrath on her. The Most High made it where he humbled and he gave obedience to her. Picked her up delicately. What's wrong with you? Da, da, da. Where he wouldn't have done that before. So sometimes, not saying it's all the case like what's here in Judith, he could have just been that way. But let's just say he wasn't. The Most High would have caused that allure of Judith to even increase in his mind to cause him to let his guard down. Let's go back to Judith chapter 12, and we at verse 17 now. We're almost done. it says, then said Holofernes unto her, drink now and be merry with us. So Judith said, I will drink now, my lord, because my life is magnified in me this day more than all the days since I was born. So now they're just sitting down at the table, they're drinking, and things seem to be cordial, right? Verse 19, then she took and ate and drank before him what her maid had prepared. And Holofernes took great delight in her and drank much more wine than he had drunk at any time in one day since he was born. So he was so enamored, man. He was just dousing. So that's the reason why I read that verse in Esther, because sometimes the Most High is putting that spirit on him so that he can become like this to fulfill the will that Esther was going to do to him later on, right? As far as for going and delivering him to death so that she can deliver the nation of Israel. So now he's overindulging. And of course, you know, when you overindulge, your wits are not about you. You're not paying any attention, and that's that, right? So the stage has been set for what Esther is now going to be capable of doing, because Holofernes is going to be kind of incapacitated with alcohol, right? Yayan. All right. So with that concludes Judith chapters 12 and 13. Next week, we're going to be in 2 Kings chapters 15 and 16. Again, 2 Kings chapters 15 and 16. Now, for those who haven't said yet, again, we're planning for Feast of Tabernacles for those who want to come and congregate and keep it with us down in North Carolina. The link has been sent out for all the information. We do need those who are planning to attend to confirm if they will attend or if they will not, and be home and keep it at home. But we want to make sure we try to at least get those numbers or those persons who want to attend by within the next 2 weeks, right? So hopefully by the end of this month, think it through, see if you're going to be able to, what logistics you have, how you can get there, based on who's around you, proximities and all of that. And then at least allow the brothers and sisters who are doing the planning, Elder Zaquan, Akwath Rabakwa, Akwath Alayaina, right? Alayaina, yes. For them to properly plan and get certain things and provisions in place. And then like what we were talking about last night, some people may need certain resources. And if you wait to the last minute, you might not get it, right? Because they may only have a select amount of options or resources. So you want to at least be able to put your notification in early so that a spot can be held for you to get certain things, as well as being able to link up with certain people who may also be traveling and doing other things. So again, just remember October 15th, sundown, that's a Tuesday night, will be the Feast of Tabernacles. So we've given enough time for brothers and sisters to properly plan, get their monies in. There's a budget plan on the link of the website, Elder Zaquan or Akwath Alayaina. If one of you can put in the link for those who need to didn't get it, or if it needs to be emailed, please do that. So again, we want to make sure that we proclaim and try to make it for all the upcoming feast days that's going to be in the 7th month. All right. So with that, we'll say, as they say, maintenance. Let's do the Salakia. For those who want to make offerings, donations, tithes, as we always say, make sure you can send your checks and money orders into Hayat Charlotte Kanash, 3826B, Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia, PA. And this is, offerings and tithes just out of your own desires, your 10%, your free will offerings, and all this goes, as was mentioned last week, to the upkeep of this congregation, for the teaching, for the school here, pay the light bill, gas bill, heat bill, different things that we have to keep the services going, the flyers, all the things that's necessary to keep this operation going. That's what that's going towards. It's not going to, Samak's kitty, or, I can go live off of this. Paul talks about that when you read it in Corinthians, that as a priest, he could do that because that's what was done in the Old Testament, where the priests will receive food and certain things from the nation because they didn't have their own inheritance, they didn't have their own land. So they had to live off of the people as far as for getting their sustenance. But Paul says he didn't put that burden on anybody. He himself had a profession, right? He himself, I think he said he was a tent maker, right? Him and a couple of other that was doing the work. They were tent makers. Yahushua and them was carpenters. So people had their own jobs to try to sustain a living. And then they still did the work. So it's the same thing here. I have my own job. Everybody needs to go and do their work. So that this donations, your tithes, your offerings, whatever, is going to the Most High's truth to keep this going. So check the money orders again to Hayashra Al-Kanas, 3826B Germantown Avenue. If you want to pay via Zelle, that's the number, 646-620-7378. Again, 646-620-7378. Could have used this one. And then if those who are accustomed to doing PayPal, it's paypal.me/HYK12. Again, it's paypal.me/HYK12 for your offerings and donations. So with that, and then for those who want to join the classes, the Zoom classes, you can join on Tuesdays and Fridays, profitabletalks.com. Share the link, text it to somebody who's interested, and they can come and join, be a part of the family. We can see each other. If you're busy, you can put your what do they call that? Emoji or whatever the thing is. I can't remember. Your icon up, avatar, or whatever, and still be a part of it. You can't, if you're moving, you can't do the Zoom. There's a telephone number, 667-770-1085. Again, 667-770-1085 with a PIN number of 521455. Again, the PIN is 521455 for those who probably on the teleconference line that can't see what's on the screen. All right. So I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High Yahweh Shah. It's been a privilege to conduct the Sabbath service, always to do the classes, what have you, because it's a necessity is laid upon us. So the water for allowing me to preside over the service for you. Most High's will. Any questions, please bring it to our attention at the classes, or if it's something urgent, you could always reach out to myself or any other kahans to get an immediate response. With that, I'll say again, Ashar Shabbat, happy Sabbath, happy remaining Sabbath. Please stay tuned for the closing prayers, and Shalom Yashrala.
Barakatu Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ashura, Natalanawa, Par Yahakapin, Thwara Amun, La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha Allah. Again, English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. I Madwa upon you all Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem for the closing prayers. Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem,
Yahweh Shai,
Yahushai,
Baba Kushai,
Yahushai,
Shammai,
Shammai,
Lanawa,
Lanawa,
Aitha,
Aitha,
Yum Yun,
Yamyan,
Aitha, Shalat, Mayaka'ala, Waha'alahayim, Tazwadakim, La, Shemaiah, Barak, Rapah, Magun, Wakaziyak, Bunya, Yasha'ala, Washalat, Lanawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Rabiam, Da'ai, Rabiam, Bayana, Rabiam, Sabalonwa, Rabiam, Amawan, Rabiam, Aqua, Rabiam, Ahabiam, Rabiam, Haganah, Rakhanaya, Wasalat, Ko, Katayamnawa, Laha'akim, Wa Akiwa, Wa Yasha'ala, Thum Yad, Wa Iulam, Ba'asham, Yahawashai, the water, Amun. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers of angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection. And forgive all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahushai, thank you, so be it. Four Corners Prayer. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha Allah, Wabat Yasaparian, Shema, Yasharella, Yahweh, Allah Hayinawa, Yahweh, Akhad. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, bless us and Israel and the house of books or schools. And then Deuteronomy 6:4, Hero Israel, Yahweh our power is one. So again, we say Shalom, Shalom, Akwath, Andrea Watson, Shalom, listen with your mind, Shalom, a warrior, Shalom, Elder Zaquan, Shalom, Young P, Shalom, Lab Tawab and Emma, Shalom, Alaya Aina, Shalom, Truth of the Matter, and the rest of the brothers and sisters. Have a Tawab and blessed remaining Sabbath day. Shalom.
No,
Kum Yashra.
Kum Yashra.